Have you ever thought that the world is going mad? That it's lurching from crisis to crisis? That common sense and rationality seem to have vanished? Is the world out of control? Or is it perhaps under the control of people we cannot control? What's really going on? For those who want to look behind the headlines and hear the questions asked which no one dares ask, this is the Laughland Report. Hello everyone, welcome to the Laughland Report. Here with me in the Amsterdam studio today on a very hot June afternoon is Biyati, the head of the youth wing of Young FVD and one of the international delegates to the JFVD event that's taking place at Scheveningen tomorrow, Marinović from Serbia. Can you tell us something about the youth movement? It was very much in the news a couple of years ago. It was the cause of one of the party crises. How many people are you expecting, and what does it do? What does the youth movement do?
So we're expecting tomorrow around 300 members,
Yep.
which is also the maximum of the event location. So that's always good. And tomorrow will be the Congress, so in the midday we will have speakers, activities on the beach volleyball, for instance, twister even, chess. So we try to organize a day in which everyone can participate in some form of activity or listen to interesting speakers. And of course the most important thing is to get to know each other.
Yeah.
And that's also the main objective, I think, of the youth organization, is to bring young people together, especially in times where there are many instances where you will be frowned upon.
Yes.
For certain thoughts, for
Yes.
certain ideas.
Yes.
So it's really important to bring young people together.
To encourage a sense
Yes.
of solidarity. Yeah, I often joke that FVD is a group of friends masquerading as a political party.
Yes.
And I'm sure the youth group is even more true of the youth wing than the rest of the party.
We really focus on creating friendships.
Exactly.
And friends that are maybe even more than friends, people who try to bring the best out of everyone they meet. In order to build a good foundation for a civilization that can last.
And what do the members typically do? Are they students? Are they young professionals? Are they perhaps already in politics? Can you describe, I'm sure there's all kinds of different people who come, but can you give us some examples of the kind of people who attend?
Yeah, of course. It's mostly students and also people who are still in high school. And that's pretty much everyone is welcome and is able to become a member between the ages of 14 to 30. But most members, I think, are around 20. Most active members are. And they come from all the layers of society. And some of them already are working, mostly not in politics, actually.
So they come from all layers of
Yeah.
society, not mostly students then?
No.
Okay.
Students out of all the layers of society.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter what the background is in that case. If you grew up in a better neighborhood.
Sure.
In comparison to because some people like to see politics as something for only the elites.
Yeah.
And we try to oppose that, of course.
And do they typically have associations or clubs in their respective universities? Are there FVD clubs in, I don't know, the University of Leiden or the University of Amsterdam?
Not yet, unfortunately, because we also are facing a lot of cancel culture.
Yeah.
So if we would try to put up something like that at a university, the board of the university will stop it from happening.
Incredible.
So it's not possible to organize in that way. So I have to do it on different ways.
So you cannot, in a Dutch university, have a political club for FVD. You can't have a political association, but presumably you can for VVD or for any other party.
Unfortunately not. It's almost entirely impossible to do so.
Well, that's a great credit to European democracy.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
So you've got a number of international delegates coming from Hungary, I believe, from Britain, from Serbia. How do these international delegates come into contact? How have you established these contacts with other young people around Europe, or perhaps in America as well?
Well, this is actually thanks to the EU, because of course we have our faction in the EU, and they also have a youth organization. So that's where our initial contacts come from, and then through them we meet other like-minded people, and also by just sending out emails like Vuk did a year ago.
Yeah.
And that's how we met.
Well, tell us the story. How did you meet Vuk? Or Vuk, how did you meet Im?
Well, as you know, Serbia is not member of the European Union, so it's a bit hard.
Lucky you.
That's my opinion. And it is a bit harder to us to get in contact with parties who are being oriented in sovereignism, or as the mainstream media like to say, right-wing parties. We contacted almost every party for which we thought is relevant, is respecting the international law, because that is very important for every Serbian because of the matter of Kosovo issue and so on. So we found Forum for Democracy as the main opposition party in the Netherlands. And we started with an email which was literally like, do you want to meet each other? They responded, yes. I met him, he met me. And last year, literally about a year ago, we met in person in The Hague, and also we went in Scheveningen. And it was a great experience for me to meet young people, students mainly, from the West, which don't think in the same way in which mainstream, again, media is trying to make public opinion.
And is sovereignty then the most important issue for your political party, DSS, the new DSS, the Democratic Party of Serbia, Demokratska stranka Serbia?
Yes, thank you for knowing the name in every language, also in Serbian. Yes, I mean, the main topic in Serbia, of course, is Kosovo issue, but our party relies on two main components, which means that we want to defend, of course, our nation and our democracy, our freedom. So the national part is, as I told you, mostly important. We need to defend Serbian natural interests, which are three main things. Firstly, Serbian territorial integrity, which means that our southern province, Kosovo and Metohija, will stay our southern province, Kosovo and Metohija. Secondly, the respecting of the Dayton Agreement in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and helping as much as possible to Serbian people living in Bosnia and Herzegovina in entity called Republic of Srpska. And the third one is respecting the human rights of Serbs living in the Montenegro. It was like a huge disagreement there a few years ago when they had a problem with their religion, and they were marked just because they had different religion and different church. We managed, and they managed to overcome that, and that is like a huge victory for Serbian national spirit. Yeah. So we want to continue in that way as a nation, and to, as I told already, how can I say that? Remain to fight for Kosovo to remain part of our. Sure.
Yeah, the issue of the church. Not many people know about this, but I'm sure lots of people know that there's a almost identical problem in Ukraine at the moment. Ukraine, the Orthodox Church in Ukraine, traditionally is part of the Moscow Church, the Moscow Patriarchate, exactly as in Montenegro. It's traditionally part of the Belgrade Patriarchate, and I'm sure it's from the same American playbook that they decided to encourage the creation of a Montenegrin church, just as they have encouraged the creation of a Ukrainian church.
Probably. I mean, when there were huge elections in Montenegro in 2020 on the 30th of August, and that was the first time the leader who was firstly a pro-Serbian leader, then he changed his skin and became a pro-EU, pro-NATO leader.
You're talking about Đukanović?
Yes,
yeah.
I'm talking about Đukanović. He was there from 1990, and
Yes.
that was his first defeat on election. And Serbian parties, they won a huge number of votes. But the US embassy went out and told to the public that it will not be good if Serbian parties go and make a new government.
Yes, Đukanović has been in power since 1990, in other words, since much longer than either Alexander Lukashenko or Vladimir Putin, but the difference is that he is a Democrat.
Let's say.
What about the other international delegates, Ian? What can you tell us about them? They haven't been able to join us today, but what do you think they see in FVD?
So one of
The
our
Hungarians, for example, or the Americans, or the British, for that matter.
one of our speakers tomorrow is the president of a youth student organization in Flanders.
Yes.
And there, the culture is totally different. The student tradition and the culture of students participating in politics, and especially right-wing politics. This is possible in Flanders. This is not something that's possible in the Netherlands yet.
Right.
So we have something to learn from
Yeah.
them in how they set up their student associations and participate in the the elections in a university for the board and whatever. So that will be very interesting and important for us to learn about. And there are some guys coming from the Mallard, that's a UK newspaper.
Yeah.
Also, all of them are students,
Yeah.
and they have this newspaper which they physically print
Yeah.
and distribute. And that's something we can learn about as well, because we also have a magazine as our youth organization,
Indeed.
and it's good to know how they arrange all their stuff and the writers, how they support them, because they're all students. So it's not like a full-time job that most other organizations have. There are two organizations coming from Hungary, from Fidesz and Mihazank. And that will be quite interesting. We met them at CPAC last time. Very interesting people. They do a lot of activism, which we find interesting because they are weekly on the streets talking to the people, going to universities to talk to students, really try to actively bring people to their organization. That's something we want to learn about, and they can tell us a lot about Hungarian politics, and maybe we can get some good things out of that and use it for Dutch politics as well.
Hungary is obviously a role model for
Yeah.
lots of conservatives. But
Yes.
what do you think FVD represents to them? You've been very modest, saying we will learn from them, and I'm sure you will. But what do you think? Why do you think they're attracted to FVD
I
particularly?
think they're attracted to FVD because we are more than just a political organization. We are a cultural movement. That's also in the same for the youth organization. We are not merely focused on changing policies.
Yeah.
We really want to change the mentality of the people, because we believe that
very
change comes through that and not through changing policies or making laws. It's something much deeper in a human. And I think they can learn something about that from us.
And do you have that problem in Serbia as well? I suspect you probably do. Do you have the phenomenon of, I don't know whether it's particularly a problem of the youth, but unfortunately probably across the whole of society, where people culturally are not interested in conservative politics? I wonder if it's true of Serbia, to the extent that Serbia, so in the Netherlands you have obviously a very advanced, highly developed, rich Western European country with a strong liberal tradition. stretching back centuries. In Serbia, it's obviously completely different. But on the other hand, with countries that are perceived or perceive themselves as being backward or behind, I'm thinking of, in Western Europe, the example of Ireland or even Spain. Those countries very often become even more modernist, even more progressive than other countries. And I wonder if you have that problem in Serbia. For example, do you still have a large part of the population fascinated with the European Union and NATO and things like that?
Actually, firstly about European Union. We started our accession process in early 21st century, at the beginning of this millennium. And at that time, most of people, like 70% of people, were very enthusiastic about Serbia becoming a member of the European Union. After 2008 and the declaration of so-called independence of Kosovo, and after Brussels agreements, after the newest one, the latest one, Franco-German agreement, after a lot of, let's say, delaying of Serbians' accession and making new requests for Serbian governments, whatever party they were, people stopped to trust the European Union. So this year, in 2023, one poll said that for the first time, less than 40% of people are in favor of accession of the European Union. My personal opinion is that we should cooperate with European Union. We should talk about economy, about healthcare, about social problems, about many stuff. But I think that Serbia's place is not there. Founder of party which I'm representing today, Vojislav Koštunica, he made one huge step towards Serbian sovereignty. In 2008, he made Serbia military neutral country.
Yes.
So his next goal was to make it politically neutral country, but he didn't manage to do it because of huge pressure from European Union. When it is about NATO, less than 10% of people are in favor of accessing to NATO because of the bombing in the NATO, brutal NATO aggression against Serbia in 1999, where a lot of children died. Uranium was all around the country and still is. And I guess that Serbia enjoys that neutral position. Serbia wants to, as I told already, cooperate with Russia, with China, with Turkey, with Iran, both with Germany, France, USA. But accessing in the European Union is not possible when they are demanding for us to accept the secession of 13% of our territory. I don't remember that any country had that demand.
What I remember from my visit in Serbia about the feelings toward NATO was I was being guided around and shown some stuff, and there are buildings and bridges that are
destroyed, damaged.
So they're destroyed, these buildings and bridges, and they purposely they didn't choose to rebuild them as like a reminder to the Serbian people and what NATO did. I remember like the huge radio tower, and I guess some bridges to Novi Sad maybe, or
yes, that's the...
And a lot of bridges or buildings in Belgrade, I do remember that they are not being rebuilt as a reminder.
Mostly. Some of them, yes, some not yet, but the main building is the building of the ex-Ministry of Defense, which was bombed in 1999. It is still in the same condition as it was in 1999. I think that the main message is that we will forgive. I mean, the time goes by. Children will, new children will come to this world, but we will never forget.
No, well, that's absolutely right. I was in Belgrade during the bombing. I will certainly never forget it. Yes, I visited. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. Yes, I experienced it directly. I went to
Oh.
sleep to the sound of British bombs falling, falling not very far from me.
We are
Not just British, of course.
We are
but,
talking now about bombing, and it is interesting to see how European Union today puts a lot of effort to defend the territorial integrity of Ukraine.
Yes.
And the total hypocrisy
Yeah, of
happened
course.
in 1999, where they were destroying the territorial integrity
Yeah.
of that
Yeah.
time called the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia.
Absolutely.
The same they've shown, of course, in the Middle East as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
above all, 1999 was the time, well, partly as well in 1995 with whatever the operation was called in Bosnia, but that was the first time that NATO conducted a real military operation, and of course it did so in an aggressive and offensive manner, and it ever since then has abandoned, has forfeited forever its ability to call itself, as it continues to do, a defensive alliance. And then they wonder why the Russians and other people perceive it that way. Vuk, thank you so much for joining us. Im, I wish you all the best for your event tomorrow. I know you've got to rush. Thank you so much for giving me your time, and see you all very soon. That's it for now. Thanks very much. Goodbye.